If I'm not hiring smart people, giving them the tools, and then letting them run with them, I'm doing my company a disservice and I'm doing myself a disservice. No, maybe I have too big of an ego. Now, I believe organizations need ego. Oh, excuse me, I actually mean a different term. EGO, empowering greater outcomes.
Give them great tools and very clear direction on what you want to accomplish. Like, I think there's a responsibility on both sides. If you're going to want more performance and better performance out of them, well, then you better give them better tools and make sure that if that's needed, to give them a better opportunity to perform and execute.
Unfinished Business Podcast Show with your host, David Sliman.
Today on Unfinished Business, we welcome one of the most recognized voices in the world of sales, Mark Hunter, better known as the Sales Hunter. He's got a powerful voice and presence in keynote speaking, consulting, and he's a best-selling author. He has some great books out there. A Mind for Sales, High Profit Prospecting, High Profit Selling. You got to check those out. But Mark has helped thousands of companies, professionals across this country to build sales performance teams, to up their game, long-term results. And Mark has a career that spans for decades in the sales and business organization world. He's a super, super great leader. And more importantly, like I said, he is impacting organizations and professionals across this country. And I love what he's doing. And I'm honored to have him on the show today. So Mark, thanks for being here on Unfinished Business.
You're listening to the Mindy 95 KQZ Radio. Oh, I'm sorry. I had to throw that in. Anyway, hey, great to be with you. You know, occasionally we divert back to those old DJ days, back when they used to have.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, hey, great to be with you. We're going to talk about some great stuff regarding business, regarding where you are in the business spectrum.
Yeah, I'll tell you. And we're going to take a top-down approach today. Okay, we're going to start with the organizations themselves, and then we're going to get a little bit more granular on sales strategies. I think that's the plan anyway, as I talk to you about the idea of what we're going to do here. And we're just going to let this thing roll. So I'm excited to jump in. Everybody sit back, relax, and enjoy this one. It's going to be a great show. And let's kick it off. First question for you, Mark. Okay, you've worked with you've done consulting work for organizations, sales organizations. In your view, what are the biggest things that sales organizations can do to build successful teams and execute?
Starts with culture. The culture has to be right, and the culture starts at the top. Now, you may not be at the top, but that means culture starts with you going down. So wherever you are in the organization, that's where culture starts. But you're also on the receiving end of culture. And culture plays out a lot because here's what it does. As you see how employees are treated in a company, that's how those employees will treat their customers. And I can tell
that's a great
very quickly how a company is treating their employees by just watching their salespeople, because their interactions reflect what they experience. So I place culture up at the top. And hey, let me unpack that for just a bit. Culture is far more than, we have every quarter we do a beer time, or I don't care what it. Culture is about understanding the needs of the employees, demonstrating that you care for them, and truly helping them in achieving their goals, both professional and personal. Culture means that you have a set of values, you have a set of standards that you do not deviate from. Culture means that you accept and you respect. Culture means that you have a level of accountability. Accountability not to one another, but to your families and to yourself. Okay, I'll stop right there because that was a lot that I threw out right there.
No, it's really huge, and I recently talked about this because organizations want to push. They want you to push up numbers. They want you to hit certain. They want you to elevate the results, and the accountability is huge for the team members and the management team and all that great stuff. And I flip this too. I put accountability when I work with organizations. I put accountability also on them because that's part of the culture. Give them great tools and very clear direction on what you want to accomplish. Like, I think there's a responsibility on both sides. If you're going to want more performance and better performance out of them, well, then you better give them better tools and make sure that if that's needed, to give them a better opportunity to perform and execute.
Oh, so true on that. Because again, if you don't hold people accountable, you'll quickly wind up with people going all over the place in terms of what they want to do, what they want to dance, what they want to sing, where they want to go. And suddenly you wonder what happened to the results. Accountability has to be a 360 at everywhere in the organization. I go back to an old line of Steve Jobs. Why do we hire smart people and we tell them what to do? Something wrong with that.
Yeah, right.
If I'm not hiring smart people, giving them the tools and then letting them run with them, I'm doing my company a disservice and I'm doing myself a disservice. No, maybe I have too big of an ego. Now, I believe organizations need ego. Oh, excuse me. I actually mean a different term. EGO, empowering greater outcomes.
Yes. Hold on. Say that again. Say that again for everybody. The EG. Love this. Go ahead.
Ego, empowering greater outcomes. That's what our goal has to be. With every person. I had a situation this morning with one of the people on my team, and we got to address it. And I sent the person a note. I said, get time on my calendar. We'll address it here. Now, I'm not going to take this person to the cleaners. I want to empower greater outcome. Clearly, something just isn't communicating right. Something isn't happening right. We'll address it. We'll get it. But I want to empower a greater outcome so this person feels better about the job they're doing, which in turn they'll interface with customers better. We'll achieve better results as a company. And everyone else in the organization will not say, hey, this person's letting us down. No. Accountability is key in an organization, but it starts with you. You have to be willing to be accountable to yourself.
Yes, that's so great. So great. All right. I'm going to switch gears a little bit here. I'm going to go back to the balance of goals, right? Mm-hmm. How should leaders in an organization really balance the short-term revenue pressures, right, of pushing things up with the long-term sales development of what you just talked about, the culture? Like, there's that balance there, right? How do they do that?
Well, that's always a problem because the person that's closest to street level has the shortest window. In other words, they're looking at today's business. Yeah. Then you go up a bit, they're looking at the month's business, go up a quarter, year, et cetera, et cetera. The challenge is wherever you are in the organization, you have to let the person below you fail. Whoa, what did he just say? Yeah, I said fail. Here's why. If all we do is we step in, and I've seen plenty of organizations where the salesperson's on a call and the sales manager jumps in to save the day. Well, you know what happens? The salesperson never learns. Now, you can do that sometimes in a manner and coach them through afterwards, but very few managers, I'll say they're managers, they're not leaders, they're managers, because all they're trying to do is manage the deal, are capable of doing that because they're jumping into clothes to make themselves look good. Big problem. So there is a challenge. This is where you have to be incredibly mindful of the pipeline. What's in your pipeline? And if you are just living to quarter end, I mean, that's all I was talking to a salesperson the other day, and he said, Mark, my problem was I came out of the fiscal year and I made my number, but then I had nothing in my pipeline. I said, yeah, because you know what? You are all dialed in, everybody in the organization. So managers, leaders, this is incumbent on you. As you move through the quarter, you got to make sure that all of your dialogue, all your conversation isn't just on that quarter, but you're talking about the out quarter. You're talking about what's further down.
Yes.
Because again, what you say resonates with your people. So if you're just dialed in on making this number right now, this number, guess what? Your people will become very short-sighted. I had a boss like that. He was incredibly short-sighted. And as a result, I became very short-sighted. And I went to a different boss, and the person had a much longer time frame. And, oh, man, believe me, the pressure was still on to make the deal. Pressure was still on to make the number. But we were always looking down the road. This is key. Leaders, you've got to make sure that you're helping your people. And this is where this is a mark of a good sales leader. Are you one who goes in to close the deal, or are you one who goes in to open the deal? Let me unpack that for a bit.
Yes.
Short-term managers, they want to go in and close the deal. Call me when you get ready to close, and I'll come in and help you do it. Right? Because they put on they put on the big cape with the big S, super salesperson. I want you as a leader to go in and open the deal. What this means? This means you go in on the initial call. You go in at the beginning. You make calls on your own. Because you know what's interesting? You're able to have conversations and ask questions that the salesperson can't. Nothing wrong with the salesperson. Nothing wrong with it. But because you and your title, you can have things. So what you want to do is you want to be able to go in and help open doors. What does that do? That empowers greater outcomes. That allows your salesperson to achieve better results.
That is fantastic. And this is the first time I've heard it this way, okay? Because I've heard it with the sales managers come in and close the deal, or bring in the crafty left-hander, right? Towards the end. But think about this as a sales manager, sales leader, right? Reflection is the direction, I say. Okay, reflection is the direction of where you're going to go. And why not start this out with bringing in a sales lead? This is so great. Bring in a sales leader from the start, because the direction of this thing is going to go so much farther than just trying to push this thing over the finish line, right? Gosh, that's so good. It is so good.
It's so true. And it goes back to the old African proverb. We've all heard it many times before. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others. So, having that four-legged sales call makes really a lot of sense. I was working with a company, a long 2-3 year sales cycle, because again, you had to go through a whole spec tech. It took forever to get the product in.
SaaS. Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah.
When we put that in place, it changed dramatically. It increased the close ratio, because what happened was people didn't wind up chasing the rabbit. They didn't wind up chasing the squirrel. They didn't wind up chasing stuff that just wasn't there, because the sales manager was involved at the beginning and was able to get different meetings, different things, and really validate whether or not this is going to work out. And if it wasn't going to work out, they had much better connections, much better relationships, and they could move the deal actually faster.
Yeah, and we all know, as sales professionals or sales leaders, it's all about the customer and what challenges we can solve. So if we can bring in a sales leader early and they identify a challenge maybe the sales professional didn't identify, or there's just more engaging conversations about the knowledge of the industry or whatever it might be, gosh, you make much more of an impact. Mark, this is great. Like, I just learned something today from a perspective. It's just a little tweak. But it can make a huge impact. Great stuff. All right.
Sales.
Yes, please.
Sales people love that, because now they see you as an asset to them. They see you as helping them. And when they can ultimately close the deal, doggone it, they feel good. They feel good. Yeah. And you are standing there at the finish line. You're congratulating them. You're jumping up and down for joy, but you're giving them credit. It's not, well, you got the order. And I put it, let them celebrate the success.
Yeah. And it goes back to what you answered with the first question. I mean, you want to talk about a culture shift too, right? It just, wow. How about changing the culture and the confidence? Like you said, rather than someone coming in at the end and feeling like they pushed everything over the finish line, they just got it started and they took it and ran with it. So fantastic. If I'm an organization, okay, and you and I both seen this, but I'm going to ask this question. What are the need to know sales stats, KPIs that an organization must have their finger on to be successful?
Yeah, there's really only a couple. What is the size of the pipeline? And when I mean pipeline, it's only qualified prospects are in the pipeline. In other words, let's take the lead, let's take unqualified out, but what size of it? How many touches is it taking to close the deal? And how long does it take to close the deal? And then ultimately, what is the percent of qualified leads? Now, there's a little difference between qualified leads and qualified prospect. In other words, okay, really smells good. This really smells good. This lead smells good. What's the percent of those that ultimately close? If I can just measure those 4 metrics, that's all I need.
That's
That's
it.
it. That's it. Don't
That's it.
we overcomplicate things. Well, how many deals are in demo phase? How many deals are in this? I was working with a company one time, and they had like 17 steps in there.
Same thing.
You can screw up a 2-car funeral pretty and dial it. It's not that complicated. It's not that complicated. Yeah.
That's so funny. I worked with a company as well, and they had a pipeline of like 15 different silos and channels, and it's like, oh my goodness, how can you track that? And there's a percentage here and a percentage here and a percentage here, but it really does. It comes down to really the targets and what really turn into opportunities, and when you have an opportunity, how many of those close. It's really that simple. But I knew we were aligned on that, but it's true.
Now, I want to share with the audience why companies have 15 steps, because they got there because of this very one simple thing. Forecasting sucked. There's a technical term, forecasting sucked. Because what happened was nobody could really understand what's the probability of this deal closing, what's the percent. And salesperson, Bob had this sort of standard, and salesperson Jane had this, and doesn't, and so it was impossible. So by putting all these different silos together, and each one has a different percentage, we'll be able to accurately forecast. No, all you did was you created a process to fix something that was screwed up in people's head. That's all. And it doesn't do a thing.
It does not.
Yeah, because I bet that company had if it's here, it's 45%. If it's here, it's 52%, 56%.
Yes.
And again, I get it. I understand that, because that's an accountant's way. That's finance's way of saying, we're going to get this pipe
projection.
We're going to help you manage your forecast. Doesn't do it.
Yeah. Pipeline is the lifeline. I'll tell you that for sure. But I don't think you need to overcomplicate it with you 100%. All right. A noisy marketplace. Okay. We've worked with organizations. We continue to work with organizations. What are some things consistently that separate companies that are winning and others that are either not successful or they're just kind of plateauing? Are there some key ingredients here that consistently keep companies? I mean, you'll see the companies that are consistently winning, consistently evolving. And again, it's noisy. Things change a lot. But what is that difference?
Yeah, in fact, there's a term I heard the other day. I cannot take credit for it, but peak noise.
Okay.
Peak noise. We're at peak noise.
Yeah.
There's so much noise on. Now, unfortunately, that peak keeps getting taller and taller every day. Here's what I find: the companies that are crushing it, the companies that are killing it, understand their ICP, their ideal customer profile. They know the industry that they play in, and they stay in that space. I see right now we're going through a period of time where the economy is a little bit, we're not sure. And it's very easy for companies and salespeople to start saying, I got to change up this. I got to change this. Here's a shiny object. Here's a squirrel. Here's something I want to go chase. We got to diversify. No. Now is the time to get even more focused. The top companies who are at the top of their game, top salespeople, stay extremely focused, because they know that their best source of new business is their existing customer. Now, that doesn't mean their existing customers are going to come back and buy more, but they know that existing customer demonstrates a profile that they can copy and mirror and take over to somebody else, or they're going to help refer them to somebody. They're going to open up a door to somebody or something like that.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: because there's peak noise, there's more competition than ever. That means we have to be so laser focused, so tight, that in our space, we are seen as the expert. We are seen as the expert.
Yes.
And when we do that, it's amazing at the results that will happen. And again, it goes back to, it's a lot easier to sell that way. Why do I want to learn a new industry? Hello. There's a reason we all got into sales, because we're not brain surgeons, okay?
Stay in your lane, man. That's it, right?
Yes.
Stay in your lane.
Yeah.
I love the companies that and there's a lot of they've got this niche and they're rolling, and all of a sudden they throw in a bunch of different things that maybe they're not the best at, and then they start veering off, and it waters down. You got to watch watering down what you're great at, because you'll lose momentum and lose sight of that. And also, here's another thing, Mark. How about the modern buyer at this point? With information out there, you're giggling a little bit here. How has that changed the strategy?
They're pretty smart. They're pretty smart.
Yes.
But now here's the challenge. Buyers don't wake up in the morning and say, "Man, I hope I get to work with a salesperson." Said nobody. I don't even think
Right.
procurement people wake up and say that. Okay, they really don't, because again, there's so much information out there that they can make the decision on their own, and that's good. That's great. But here's the challenge: there's so much information out there that we in sales have to actually come in and de-educate the customer. Educate the customer. So what happens is they've got perceptions. I was at a breakfast this morning, and a few of us, and there was a little bit of a political commentary and breakfast going on, and everybody had their opinion. Because again, everybody's got different sources. Nothing wrong with that. It's great. Fine. I don't run from any of that.
Yeah.
And but everybody's got their sources. So then we as a salesperson have to come in and we have to de-educate the customer. Now here's the challenge: to de-educate the customer, we have to be able to create a level of trust and confidence. Because if we don't have trust and confidence, we'll never be able to de-educate the customer. So this is where I say that this is scary. This is gonna the sales process has actually lengthened. It's lengthened because this customer has this knowledge. We come in and we have to de-educate, but to do that, we have to create trust and a relationship first, which is good, which is going to take time. I mean, it may only take one call, it may take 2 calls, it may take 3 calls, it may take 4 calls, but it's going to take some time. Then we can re-educate them as to what it is that they need. Because so many times customers think they have a solution and they really don't have a solution. They think, I mean, I'll give you a quick example. We got a couple trees in our yard and we got some bugs on them, and my wife went online and, this is what we got to get. So she goes to, I'll go and say, she went to Lowe's last night, and this is what I got to buy. And she ran into a person there, an employee who understood trees, and had to get her to realize it was something else. There was a different something else that she needed to buy. Now she believed him because he was wearing a blue Lowe's vest. Now I mean, that's a cheap example. But what I'm saying is that my wife had gone with the knowledge of buying product X and came out buying product Y. Now, if the tree dies, then I'm going to go find a guy in the blue vest. So, yeah.
You're making a trip to Lowe's. I love it. This is great conversation. All right. I'm going to switch gears on the sales professionals, the people leading the charge in the fields versus the organization and leadership within. But it's going to be a broad question. I'm going to start with it anyway. What are the most important sales skills to master? Okay, that you really just have to have in your tool belt, or you have to have in your queue, or you have to be strong. What are some of those skills?
Time management. Time management, number one. Time management. And it starts with how you start your day. I love asking if any sales leader out there, sales manager, I don't care what the title is, I don't care. If you don't have a defined way as to how you start the day, you need to get one right now. Because here's the deal. We've been talking a lot about accountability. Accountability begins with accountability to yourself. If you can't be accountable to yourself as to how you start your day is going to control you. And what I found is that time management drives everything. Absolutely drives everything. And it allows us to exponentially own our calendar. Here's the thing. I see people say, well, I put this in my calendar, but then I never got to it. Oh, come on. What's the point of putting in your calendar if you don't follow your calendar? See, that one of the first things that you're accountable to is your calendar. And now I'm not saying your day is comprised of all these to-dos. It's outcomes that are achieved because of the to-dos you're going to do. In other words, this is another thing that I stress on sales leaders. What are your outcomes for the week? What are the outcomes? And I'm going to challenge you as a sales leader. Share those with your team. Share those with your team. You may have 5 or 6 people on your team. You may have 10 people on your team. Share with them Monday morning what your objectives are for the week. Now, what does this do? This helps them join you in you achieving, but it's also going to tell them they got to set their objectives. They got to set, see, it's called role modeling. Gee, there's a novel approach.
Yeah.
When you
Yes.
role model the behavior you want of your people, it's amazing how much easier it is for them to do it. Same thing then with communication, same thing with follow-up. Side note, and I can't stand this. When a sales manager says, oh yeah, we have a weekly meeting, and every week they show up 10 minutes late. Well, what's that tell their salespeople? You can show up 10 minutes late to your customer. As you handle your sales meeting is exactly how your salespeople will handle their customers. So if you're doing all the talking in the sales meeting, guess what? Your salespeople are doing all the talking with the customer. Wow. There's a novel.
Reflection.
It's just
Reflection's the direction.
right. I mean, isn't it amazing how our kids turn out a lot like us as parents? Oh, man. Help us. Thank goodness there's 2 parents involved. Thank goodness. It's not hard leading a sales force if you do it right and you lead from a position of I've got to model the behavior for my people.
Yeah. It keeps coming back to our conversation. It's that cultural modeling, the reflection, and it's extremely important. The time, I agree with you. The time, if you're all over the place, you're never going to get any consistency at all. You're never going to have that foundational element to be a great prospector, to be a great presenter, to be a great closer, whatever that might be in your process, because you're always going to be reacting.
That's right.
All the time.
Yeah.
And you're just not going to be proactive on building in stronger skills. You may build some skills going into it. But I think you're really going to be able to really be successful in this space. Yeah. All right, let's talk about prospecting.
Love it.
Please.
Love it.
Yeah.
What do you want to know?
Because let's start from square one, okay? Because I have a book sitting up here that I was given years and years and years and years back, almost 24 years ago when I started in sales, and it's about call reluctance. Okay. How do professionals become stronger prospectors in general and really eliminate the threat of call reluctance? Because I think that's one of the biggest challenges in all of prospecting.
Let's go back to something that I firmly believe. If you have the ability to help someone, you owe it to them to reach out to them. Let's unpack that. If you have the ability to help someone, you owe it to them to reach out to them. The example I love to share when I'm on a stage in front of an audience, I'll say, if I had a problem, and trust me, you ask my kids, they will tell you Dad has a lot of problems. And I knew that you could help me, I would want you to reach out to me. If I found out later that you could have helped me and you didn't, I'd be disappointed. We're doing customers a service by reaching out to them. We really are. That's why I say, go back to what we talked about in terms of great team. You stay in your lane, stay in your fun. So you know who your best, who your best type of customer is, and that's who you're dealing with. That's who you're calling. So you undoubtedly know you can help them. Now here's the deal. They probably don't know you. They don't know who you are. Now, this is where a little bit of marketing comes into play and advertising, because you create awareness. Like, for instance, myself. I mean, many people watching this probably listening to this. Mark Hunter, the sales hunter. Oh yeah, well, I've got his book, or I've read. So that helps. But here's the deal. I'm going to reach out. I'm going to call you. I'm going to contact you, and you may just get vehemently upset. Say, "Don't call me again," and hang up on me. Now, here's the situation. I don't know about you, but I have not found a headline yet where it says salesperson was maimed, bloodied, or murdered because of a sales call they made. I don't know. Have you ever seen one? I have.
Never seen one of those.
I
At
haven't.
least in my eyes.
I haven't. And yet, here's the situation. Many times when they erupt on us, we have no idea what's going on in their life. I equate it.
100%.
I equate it to a situation. If I could be driving down the road and the light is green, I've got a green light, and I'm going through the intersection, and a car runs the red light and T-bones me. I'm totally in the right. I just happen to be, unfortunately, on the receiving end of a bad situation.
Yeah.
See, here's the whole thing. We don't know what happened in that person's life. That person, just before they took our call, may have just found out unbelievable tragic news, unbelievable something else. They may be just having a day, they may have thought they were answering the phone. It was going to be somebody else, and it's you, a salesperson, yada, yada, yada. Again, you have no idea. You have no idea what the pretext is of that person is dealing with when they answer the phone for you. So don't sweat bullets over it. It's okay. And my whole feeling is this. You may reject me now, and that's okay. That's fine. That's fine. But if I believe I can help you, I'm going to keep coming back, and I'm going to bring you a new insight. I'm going to bring you. Now, it's not like, hey, I'm just checking in. That's what we do at a hotel. That's what we do. Right. Or
following. I was just following up.
Right. Just following up. That sucks. That sucks.
Credibility down.
Right.
Credibility down. But yes, keep going.
I had a cold caller, and I rarely answer the phone. Because I'm in sales. I don't want to be bugged by salespeople. But I thought it was a call from somebody who I thought. So I answered the phone, and there's about this 4-second pause, 5-second pause. So what does that tell you? This is an automated dialing system, right? You know this is a dialing system.
Hello.
Person comes on and says, hey, I know this is a cold call, and I got a 30-second pitch. Have you got 30 seconds that I can do for you? And I said, no, you don't. You got 10 seconds. You're on the clock right now. And literally, I was counting 1, 2, 3, and I hung up at 10. Here's the whole thing. Do you have 30 seconds so you can hear my cold pitch? They may sound cute and fancy and something, and they may, but they're not gonna buy anything. They're not gonna. It's a waste. If I'm gonna make a cold call to you, if I'm gonna call you, David, I'm gonna immediately go into some statement of relevance or a question of relevance to you and your business. That's what I'm immediately going to go into. And then I'm going to say, hey, by the way, I'm Mark Hunter, the sales. And they're going to say, so who are you? Oh, I'm Mark Hunter, the sales hunter. And that's exactly what you have. We've got like 3-4 seconds to engage. So this is what happens. I mean, you reject me on the first call. Fine. I'm going to try you again. I had a deal, and it's in my CRM system, 56 touches over the course of 18 months. But it landed one of my largest deals ever.
Yeah. Fortune's in the follow-up.
It is.
That's it.
It is.
It is.
Follow-up. And
but
many salespeople go, well, I called them 3 times and they didn't respond, so they must not be interested.
Yeah. And it's great. Go ahead. Yes, please.
I got to start. I had a guy who would text me. This was a salesperson who would text me probably about every other week. Did this for several years. And, it was a text message. I never, ever responded. And he had a company, and I knew what the company was. And one day I'm in a meeting with my team, and we're talking about something we need. I go, you know what? Hey, right here. Pulled up my phone. There was a text message. I texted him back. Yeah. Can we talk? And I wound up placing a very significant order with him. And we wound up doing business for about a year. And it worked out great. We're absolutely fantastic relationship. Now,
that's great.
That person was sending me messages probably every other week for 2-3 years. I never responded.
Kept going. It's in the connections and
Yeah.
the follow up for sure. I don't like using that word follow up, but it's in the connections that you make, and you got to be intentional. I mean, the few things that I'll say here, Mark, that are really important. And I'm going to give everybody just one tip too. Okay, when you're making cold calls or cold outreach, it is called they don't call it warm calling. Okay. It's called cold calling. So from a mindset standpoint, know that it's going to be cold, right? We all can agree with that. But secondly, focus on the idea of bringing down barriers versus bringing up barriers, like you're talking about here. Like if you're going to use words like that example you were giving, hey, can I pitch you on this? Or this is a cold call. I mean, all you're going to be doing is bringing up barriers, and essentially you're trying to bring them down. But there was one technique I was taught years back that really helps kind of put prospects at their off guard a little bit. And it's the permission-based opener. Hey, can I steal a quick minute of your time? I promise to be brief. Start showing respect of time, because we talked about time management's the most important thing. Mm-hmm. But more importantly, you don't know what's going on in their world, as you mentioned. And if you can actually, instead of being ordinary, be different, just try that little thing. Yeah. Hey, do you have a quick minute? Can I steal a quick minute of your time? Like, ask for the time, because once you do that, now you've got their attention. And I think that's a huge differentiator and it's such an easy thing to do.
Oh, it's so easy. And I'll tell you what, the time to do that I love doing it.
Yeah.
It's what I call the 58-2 window. 58-2 window. 58 minutes after the hour to 2 minutes into the hour. And because most meetings start at the top of the hour. And if I'm calling, right. And if I'm calling a senior level person, they're going from one meeting to the next, one meeting to the next. So if I'm calling a senior level person at 58-2 window, that's exactly how I always start it.
I love that.
Because it's respectful of them, and it absolutely works. So that's a little technique. If you, the one time that you can reach people is many times 58-2, because oftentimes, you know, what'll happen is they'll answer the phone thinking you are their 11 o'clock call. And no, you're a salesperson.
You just got two nuggets here, okay? Really good ones. Permission-based opener and the 58-2. I love the 58-2. I've never heard that. That is fantastic. It's fantastic. All right. Let's talk about sales professionals in general. What separates great sales professionals from average or mediocre or below average sales professionals? Is there some DNA right there? And I'd love to talk about sales DNA, but is there a DNA difference between them?
There's not I don't think there's so much a DNA difference. There's a philosophy. And my definition of a great salesperson is the same definition of a great leader. It's helping others see and achieve what they didn't think was possible. Stop and think about what that means. Help others see and achieve what they didn't think was possible. Because that's what a great leader does. That's what a great salesperson does. Now, here's the situation. Great salespeople are separated by a couple things. One, they understand accountability. We've been talking about that. Two, they understand calendar. They absolutely are ruthless in how they manage their calendar. And three, they are absolutely in tune with how they start the day. In other words, they have a set routine. I love it. Salespeople sit there, oh, I'm a top performer. Oh, really? How do you start your day? And if they can't definitively tell me exactly how they start the day, they are not a top performer.
Yeah.
Top performers are also, I'm going to run through a whole list here, are also very repetitive, extremely repetitive. I have a privilege of coaching a unbelievably successful salesperson, corporate America. This is not a real estate person. This is corporate America, works for a company. And he says, I live the most boring life ever, because at 10:30 every morning I'm doing this, at 11 o'clock I'm doing this, 12, it's just, and this person does travel about 100, 150 days a year, but he says, I still stick to this absolute routine. I may have to deviate by an hour or two because of a meeting or something like that, but I'm doing it. And again, this is the other thing. The other thing that top salespeople do is they invest in the other person. They absolutely invest, because it's not about the product, it's about the person. It's absolutely about the product. You'll never catch that top performing salesperson having commission breath. They're looking down. They are looking down the road. They are looking so far down the road. And they know that if they just, in the words of Zig Ziglar, the way you achieve your goals is you help other people achieve their goals. And that's what top performers, because they're not afraid to ask the difficult question. They're not afraid to call somebody up way above where they are in an organization to arrange a meeting. They're not afraid, because they know that, wait a minute, I need to get some insight. I need to get some information so I can help them. It's
about serving.
Unapologetically proactive in understanding that they can help them, and they're going to help them because their product is. And this is what I love to come back. My goal in life is just to help people. It's just purely help people, and this is what a top performing salesperson will tell you. The medium they use just happens to be what they sell. That's it. They could be a plumber, they could be an architect, they could be an electrician, they could be a pilot, but they feel that by doing what they're doing, they're able to help the most people. And it's just the product or the service happens to be the medium.
That'd be the vehicle. Yeah. Great perspective. All right. What, for anyone listening out there who's a sales professional, they might be falling into a little bit of a slump. I'd like to switch the gear here a little bit. What advice would you give somebody who's, lost that confidence maybe in the field or has fallen into a slump? What would you recommend they do?
Yeah, several things. First of all, realize that valleys are never as deep as you think they are. And oh, by the way, mountaintops are never as high as you think they are. The valley that you're in right now, and I've gone through that. Believe me, I've gone through that. But then it's amazing. It turns around. So you can be in the mountain. And what happens when you're in that valley and you're in that low period, you're standing too close to the tree to see the forest. And there's a big opportunity. Yeah. So I suggest several things. One, stop. Take inventory of everything you're thankful for. This is lame. But just take a piece of paper and start writing down everything that you're thankful for. Two, ask yourself, who can I give a referral to? Get yourself in a mindset of giving 2 or 3 referrals. I have a goal. Every week I give 3 referrals a week, period. 3 referrals a week, period. Great. And it's amazing how it changes you. 3, look at your existing customers. And then write your 10 best customers that you've had down on the left-hand side of a piece of paper. On the right-hand side, write down the outcomes you helped them achieve. Not what you sold them, the outcomes. And then you give yourself a big hug and you go, wow, pretty impressive. And then you know what? You pick up the phone and you call each one of those 10. How you doing? What's going on? Tell me about what your business is doing. You know what's interesting is they're gonna compliment you. They're gonna pick you up. They're gonna say how great things are. Da 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 da. And it's amazing at how much more in tune you're gonna suddenly feel, because you have a lot more business than you realize just doing that. And then in doing so, guess what? They're going to wind up, hey, you know what? I need to introduce you to so-and-so. I need to help you. I need to do that. You're going to wind up getting business. Here's a real side note. Okay, we're recording this in the month of April, but when it comes down to November, December, start calling all your customers. Now, only do it if you're genuinely. What you want to do, going into the holidays, going into the, come out of Thanksgiving and in Christmas, only do it if you're in the spirit. But you call all your customers and you say, thank you for your business. Thank you. And they're going to be shocked that you called them. And you know what's going to happen? They're going to wind up starting to talk to you about next year. They're going to wind up telling you about opportunities they got next year. Guess what? Suddenly you're going to wind up with opportunities on your calendar for next year. They're going to wind up saying, hey, you know what? I need to introduce you to so-and-so. You're going to wind up with so much business that you don't even realize, but you did it out of a mindset of being generous, being thankful, calling all your existing customers and thanking them.
Yeah. And there's one thing you said here that I'm going to start employing, and I think it's really huge. 3 referrals a week. What a great, really, I wouldn't even, what a great commitment. It's not a goal. I wouldn't call it a goal for me. It would be more of a commitment to be disciplined on doing that, because really, you keep using this word, and I really want to stress it, is help. Okay. And you and I are in the both on that mindset. The point in our careers and through our years, that's why we've been successful, is I want to help professionals. I want to help people become stronger personally and professionally. And our vehicle is sales. Like, that's what we love doing, and that's our vehicle. And there's a lot of things that spawn off of that. But the referrals, I love the idea of committing and being very intentional about getting referrals, giving referrals. Now, think about it as a sales professional. You have all these business connections or personal connections, whatever it might be. You are a conduit for that. It's all in front of you.
It's all in front of you. And you know what? With every referral, you have the ability to create 2 raving fans. Here's why. I have this happen a lot. Companies will call me, "Hey, Mark, we want you to speak," or something like that. And I go through, you know what? I'm not the right person. I'm going to suggest this person. So what happens is, we'll say that comes to pass. And even if it doesn't come to pass, that company loves me because I was willing to recommend somebody who I felt would do a better job. 2, the person I referred to them loves me. So guess what? I got 2 raving fans who are now going to talk highly about me. You want to build your business? Bingo. There's the path.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it. Really powerful, man. Really powerful. All right. Few more questions before we go here. And I didn't write down a lot of the questions that we had today, but this one I definitely put down because I wanted to ask you this. But if you had to start over today as a brand new sales representative, knowing what you do now, what would you do? What would your first 90 days look like?
I'd get a mentor right away. Get a mentor. Get a mentor. That is absolutely key. I was too proud, too arrogant, too cocky to realize that I needed other people in my life. And as a result, I stumbled and fell. In my book, Mind for Sales, I talk about being fired from my first 2 sales jobs because I didn't have a clue what I was doing. And I wasn't listening. I needed a mentor. That's absolutely number one.
Great advice.
Number 2, humble yourself. Just and realize that initially, you're not going to score a lot of sales. You're not going to score a lot of sales. This is like a football game. You're not going to put a lot of points on the scoreboard. But the only way you put points on the scoreboard is you got to run plays on the field. Your plays on the field are the calls you're making, the meetings you're having, et cetera, et cetera. So your first 96 months, it really is all about just, I say it, it's the activity. It's the number of phone calls you're making. It's the number of conversations you're having. You just got to get enough reps in to eventually get the ball into the end zone, and you can put some points on the board.
Yeah, it's really true. And I always have this graph, right? Like at one bottom, I have knowledge, and going up, I have skills. Okay. Knowledge and skills. Those are key elements, I believe, in being a strong sales professional. But there's only one thing that's going to get you stronger knowledge and get you stronger skills. And is what you just said. Work ethic.
Yep.
You have to get the repetitions. You have to be able to get in front of people. You have to be able to give presentations. You have to be able to fall on your face. You have to be able to pick yourself up. You have to be humble. You really do. And the work ethic thing is going to build your skills and knowledge. Yeah. It's just a matter of how hard you work, how more quickly you're going to get stronger at both of those skills.
That is without a doubt.
Or both of those things.
It's like going to the gym. You can't get a gym membership, and it's not going to make you fit. You got to go and use the equipment day in, day out, day in, day out. And that's the other thing. You've got to have a mentor that is going to hold you to a routine. Absolutely hold you to a routine. And you gotta just keep doing that.
So true. What great advice. Great advice. And I was lucky enough when I started 25 years ago to have a great mentor. Okay, so before we go here, I want to talk about your books. And because I know, listen, good information in, good information out. I'm a big proponent of that, whether it's a podcast like this, whether it's a book. If you don't like to read, listen to a book, whatever it might be. But let's talk about your books and your most recent book. Talk to me about the impact of that and really how you've affected in a positive way, really sales organizations and sales professionals across the board.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, the most current book, A Mind for Sales, people say, wow, as I was reading that book, it felt like I was sitting right next to you. Because again, you're being very candid, very open. Right in the first couple of chapters, I tell about how I got into sales. I did not want to be in sales, and I was an absolute disaster in sales. Spoiler alert, I won't tell you how I got into sales or why I got into sales. You have to buy the book. There you go. Anyway, it's a funny story.
Give me a tidbit.
Anyway, but it really and allows people to realize that sales is not something you're born with. Sales skill is not something, it's you evolve into it. And the book is really about getting the right mindset, just realizing that it's just a conversation. You are just having a conversation. And it's understanding and taking the time to listen and learn. And that's all it comes down to. And then we there's a chapter in the book, like where we talked about how to organize your day, how to organize your week. How do you do these things? In other words, there's very strong prescriptive things in there that you can learn from. How to create a mastermind group. Because one of the things that I firmly believe is that not only do you need a mentor, but you need to be kind of part of a mastermind group. Now, what's a mastermind group? It's people who are really smart that you can all learn from and kind of challenge each other on. Not to complain, it's to elevate. And wow, it's amazing at what happened. I'm part of a mastermind group. We've been together now about 4 or 5 years, and it's incredible. Our conversations, the level, the depth, the how we've moved each other to a higher level.
It really is amazing when you get to a group like that. And there's so much to unpack that really when it comes to the mindset of being a professional. And, the confidence comes with, like we talked about earlier, is getting the repetitions, falling on your face, getting back up, building that toughness, that grit as you go along, because your confidence level starts building as you go along as well. So I think it's definitely something, the mindset is a huge part of this, and I'm big on breaking through thresholds. You've got to get enough repetitions to move to the next level to be a stronger professional. It's been great, man. Yeah. Mark, I want to thank you for being on the show today. I can't believe the time just freaking flew. Talk about like a mastermind thing. I mean, it's just like, it's fun rapping with you here. And I really appreciate you being on the show. And the show is really getting legs and getting known because of guests like you. So I want to thank you for being on the show today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Hey, people can jump out to my website, thesaleshunter.com, because we give away a ton of stuff out there. So The Sales Hunter, that is my real last name. I didn't change it. Thesaleshunter.com.
Excellent. That's where you can find him. He's Mark Hunter. I am Dave Sliman, your host. Everybody, listen, this is a true nugget of a show. I shouldn't have to ask this, but go ahead, share this with somebody. Give this to somebody. Give them this gift, because it was a great show. Mark, you've been a great guest. Thanks for all the insight today. And everybody, as always, wealth, health, success to all of you out there, and go get a win. Doesn't matter how small it is, how big it is, even go stack a win today. And then we'll see you next time. Thanks again, Mark.
Thanks.
Unfinished Business Podcast Show with your host, David Sliman.